Keiji Mogami was the world's most powerful psychic of his time. However, due to tragic circumstances, he had an epiphany. To use his powers for even greater good, he would wipe out everyone who he saw was evil off the face of the earth. He would achieve this by getting stronger through killing himself and absorbing as many evil spirits as he could, eventually becoming one himself. By the time the main character, Shigeo Kageyama, fought him in the series, Mogami was so powerful that not even Mob at 100% power could defeat him, and having to resort to his unknown percent form to win. After this fight, an evil organisation made up of powerful psychics named Claw made their plans known to the world for world domination. Had Mogami been around, he would have most definitely tried to take down the entire organisation by himself. However, he was stopped by Mob again before that could happen. So the question that I have today is, what if Mogami had set his sights on Claw earlier, or what if Mob never fought Mogami? Does Mogami absolutely stomp Claw, or is Toichiro alone enough to take him out? And well, that's what I'm here to talk about today. If you're going to enjoy this video, be sure to like, subscribe, it's free and it lets me know that you like this type of content. To start with, I think we need to go over one major thing, and that is power scaling in Mob Psycho 100. A pretty big critic I see of the series is that power scaling makes no sense, and however, I can understand it, kind of. If you're a casual fan that doesn't really think about it for more than a second or two, then I'd understand it. But then again, it can really make sense, though, can it? A villain in Season 1 named Koiyama was capable of absolutely destroying Shigeo in base and ended up needing 100% of his power to win. Koiyama even survived the encounter with 100% Mob, and was even confident in taking him down again, despite having seen all of his power previously. And yet despite that, in the very next episode, Shigeo in base is capable of effortlessly destroying Koiyama, no diff. So I can kind of see where the confusion comes from, however, it stems from failing to know how psychic powers work in Mob Psycho. Psychic powers are directly tied to emotions and the mental state. As Shigeo is a very quiet and reserved kid, when his emotions come exploding out, they're extremely overpowered, and since he's bottling them up, that is why. And another powerful psychic named Serizawa, we'll get to him later, was mentally depressed for years on end, resulting in his outbursts also being very powerful. Looking back at the Koyama fight, Mob is still under the impression that he is wrong to use psychic powers on other people and is reluctant to use them. And when base Mob fights Koyama, he gets destroyed. Yeah, in the very next episode, his brother's been kidnapped and possibly killed, so Shigeo doesn't really give a shit anymore, to the point, where he doesn't really care that much about using his power on others. That mental barrier has been lifted, and as a result, he destroys Koyama. So power scaling in Mob Psycho does exist and does make sense. It's just a bit difficult to scale, considering we don't know how much stronger Shigeo gets over the series, due to the fact that his resolve gets stronger, which makes him overall more powerful. Now, to get to the actual matchup, the only sort of question here is, should we include the 7th division and all of the other divisions too? You don't ever see any of the other divisions, however it's safe to assume they are around the same level of strength as the 7th. Either way, it doesn't really affect things much in this video, and the 7th division ends up leaving Claw, which is what poses the main question here, but I'll include them all, and at the end of this video you'll see why it doesn't really matter. In the fight with the 7th division, you've got characters like Taruki and Ritsu and base Mob being able to fight all of them, which might sound impressive, with the leader of the 7th division stated capable of destroying the entire complex with a single blast. However, once Mob goes to fight Claw, he ends up with a scuffle with a group of random goons, and he outright says these guys are better skilled than the people at the division, which basically means that anyone in the 7th division is basically going to be useless in this fight. It's even more impressive when you consider that Mob is much stronger here than during the 7th division fight as well, which wouldn't really matter here, as it is a direct statement about the goons' power. And Mob is also capable of scaring away Ryo Shizami. The very important thing to note here is that Ryo Shizami Mob was in base form when Ryo just dipped out of there, which is a very important feat when scaling Mogami to the rest of Claw, as in Claw there is a group of called the Ultimate 5, of which Ryo Shizami is a part of. This group is above the goons shown earlier and are capable of soloing entire divisions by themselves. Yet base Shigeo walks along and scares the living fuck out of one of the strongest ones in the group, to the point where he runs away. Even while asleep, Mob is capable of tanking many punches from an amped Ultimate 5 member named Hiroshi Shibata, who by the way is all about physical strength, and with full intent to kill Shigeo. Once Shigeo woke up, he just easily dealt with him in base. Even Migenshi wasn't able to do anything, and had multiple goons helping him out, and still couldn't beat him. And yeah, that just means that, like, it wouldn't be really close. They wouldn't really be able to do much to Mogami. Mogami even fights Migenshi before Mob stops him, and he absolutely stomps him, as expected. So, yeah, there's basically no one, like, in the Ultimate 5 that can really take on Mogami. However, right, this is however, there are 3 characters that are above or on par with the Ultimate 5. These characters are Serizawa, who's a part of the Ultimate 5 himself, Sho Suzuki, and Toichiro Suzuki. Sho Suzuki did technically leave Claw, like the 7th division, but he was ultimately like a part of it originally, so I figured I would include him. Sho was stated to be on par with the Ultimate 5 in terms of strength. However, this is debatable, as Sho, after charging up like a blast for months on end in order to fire at Toichiro, was only blocked by Serizawa's umbrella, and it didn't really deal much significant damage to it. Speaking of which, Shizami claimed that he was the strongest in the Ultimate 5, however Toichiro states that Serizawa is. Realistically, it would make more sense for Serizawa to be stronger, as Toichiro is the only one to see what Serizawa is capable of. Not only that, but Shizami got scared away by base Mob, while Serizawa was capable of forcing Shigeo to use 100% to survive his strongest attack, implying that Serizawa is above base Mob. It's notable, however, in the Reagan novel, which takes place after the Claw arc, by the way, Serizawa attacks a very powerful evil spirit and gets absolutely destroyed. Reagan then takes the evil spirit to find a more powerful one, and while the two of them kind of fuse into one, Mob comes along in base and just destroys it with absolutely no difficulty. It's debatable if that can be used, as Mob could be stronger here due to, he went under, a mental warfare with like Toichiro the previous arc, but it is something to keep up or bring up if you want to include it. So we've gathered that 99% of Claw are far below or equal to base Mob. Considering Mogami could match and defeat Mob at 100% power, this is not good for Claw. But what about Toichiro? He is the strongest and the leader of Claw. He is the only character that can actually do anything in terms of strength here whatsoever, as when he was at 100% power, he was capable of briefly overcoming 100% Mob, and when self-destructing, he outputted enough power that 100% Mob couldn't contain it. This means that 100% Toichiro and Mogami are at least relative in power. However, I would still say that Mogami is still more powerful, as he was able to outright overpower 100% Mob, much better than the brief instance where Toichiro did. However, when Toichiro self-destructs, I would say that's when they're about equal in power. The only thing is, Mogami doesn't have any transformations or anything. He is just strong, plain and simple. Toichiro needs to get to his 100% form in order to compete, which means that Mogami could just kill Toichiro before he gets a chance to get stronger. An argument you can make is Toichiro at 10% could take on Mob at 100%, so shouldn't he be stronger? If you use the argument, then you're misinterpreting the entire fight, as Mob was holding back the entire time in order to try to get Toichiro to stop without killing him. This is made apparent when Mob briefly gives up and overpowers 80% Toichiro easily, intending to kill him before he changes his mind. If 100% Mob is only 10% Toichiro level, then this wouldn't make any sense. The hacks that Claw has could be quite useful, as you have characters who can create illusions, manipulate plants, teleport indefinitely, and even capture spirits. However, it's implied that if you're strong enough, that hacks isn't really going to affect you, as Shizami fought all of the 7th division, plus Taruki and Ritsu, which contained characters who could, say, create illusions and things like that, and he just still stomped them easily. Mogami is also shown to be capable of overpowering Migeshi's plants, meaning that ability isn't really useful. But what about Matsu? His speciality is being able to capture evil spirits, and Mogami is an evil spirit, and he even captured Mogami at one point, so couldn't he just do the same again? Well, that's when context comes into it. Matsuo was not confident at all in capturing Mogami until after Mob defeated him, and he even later states how he couldn't even control him whatsoever, unlike the other evil spirits he has. Mogami also has hacks such as being able to put people to sleep just being exposed to him. He can manipulate souls as an insane regeneration factor. He can create pocket realities inside the minds of who he controls, which, by the way, he has possession, and has the ability to manipulate minds and memories of just the people who he creates in the world too. The only ability that could possibly work is Toichiro's ability to steal powers. However, he's never done it in a combat situation, as you would have think he would have done that to 100% Mob, but you know, he didn't. So all in all, Mogami would pretty much just one-shot everyone in Claw. The only one that's really standing a chance here is Toichiro, and the only way that Claw wins is that Toichiro's self-destructs, and for some reason Mogami just doesn't leave or possess Toichiro or possess anybody else to just avoid damage. He could possibly get captured by Matsuo, however, in order for that to happen, Toichiro would have to beat Mogami, and that's not really possible. So, Mogami wins. GG. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.